All right, so today we are going to use the unit circle to graph tangent and cotangent. So I'm going to go to my old unit circle. Okay, so this is what we used back when we did the graph paper using sine and cosine, but we're going to do tangent and cotangent. So tangent is going to be y over x, so it's slightly more difficult to do. But let's start with the tangent of 0. So if we go to where the angle is 0, when we do the y divided by the x, it's 0 divided by 1 or just 0. So we would have a point at 0, 0. Okay. Then we would go to where the angle is pi over 6, and we would divide the y by the x. And so we would have 1/2 divided by the square root of 3 over 2, or multiplied by the reciprocal. All right, so we end up with 1 over the square root of 3, or in simplified form, it's the square root of 3 over 3, which is going to be this angle right there, or that value right there. So we're not going to use 1/2. We're not going to use square root of 2 over 2. And we're not going to use square root of 3 over 3. Yeah, we are. No, we're not. Wait, that one wasn't. We're not going to use square root of 3 over 2. Sorry. Or the negative versions of any of those. So basically, anything that has a 2, we're not going to use. Okay, so then when I go to find the tangent of pi over 4, you do the y divided by the x, and that should give you 1. Right? Then for the tangent of pi over 3, you're going to do the y divided by the x, and that should give you the square root of 3. Right? And then for pi over 2, when you do y divided by x, you get 1 divided by 0, which is undefined. So that's a vertical asymptote. All right. So you guys pause the video, go through all of the angles for tangent, dividing the y by the x. And then when you do cotangent, you're going to divide the x by the y. Or you could just do the reciprocal of the tangent one. It's up to you. You might have to, you'll be flipping back and forth to do that. But anyway, pause the video, get those graphed, and when you're done, check yours with mine. All right, so this is the tangent graph. So one full period of tangent is this shape right here. And that falls in the distance between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2, which is the distance of pi. So the normal period of tangent is pi. And then because these arrows keep going up and keep going down, tangent is not going to have an amplitude. All right, and then here's cotangent. And one period of cotangent, do a different color, sorry, is this right here, which initially falls in between 0 and pi, so that's a period of pi, and again, there is no amplitude. So let's go to that little half sheet. That is here. And we almost have it completely filled in. The only thing we have left to do is fill in how you find the period of tangent and cotangent. And since the initial period is pi, whenever we're finding the period of those, we do pi divided by the absolute value b, or pi divided by the absolute value of the coefficient of x. All right, so we're going to go to our 4/6 notes that we started before, and we're going to finish up the back side. All right, so for tangent and cotangent, if you guys noticed, most of our periods begin at 0, like at the basic one, but tangent isn't like that. A tangent, the middle of the graph, or the x-intercept, is what's at 0. So it's the middle of the period. All right, so we have to apply the phase shifts to the x-intercept, or the middle of the period. So it's definitely different. And then what you do is you add half a period on each side. Of the middle point. And then these are going to be the vertical asymptotes. All right, so we do tangent different than we do all the others. All the others, like normally 0 is the starting of the period, and you apply the phase shift to that. So tangent's just different. Okay, for cotangent, a vertical asymptote of the cotangent is at 0, or at the start of the period. All right, and then we apply the phase shifts to the vertical asymptote. And then you add the period to find the other vertical asymptote. And then halfway between those two periods is going to be an x-intercept. So when we're doing graphing tangent and cotangent, we don't have to find as many points. We just have to find where the vertical asymptote is, so 2 vertical asymptotes and 1 halfway point for each period. Now, one thing that I do to kind of keep these right in my mind is I say that tangent is a happy graph, because as you go from left to right, it's going up, like it's happy, it's up. But it can be sad whenever it's negative in front. And then cotangent is normally a sad graph, but becomes happy when it's negative. So you guys all know those kinds of people where they're only happy if something bad's happening. That's cotangent. So negative things happen, makes cotangent happy. All right, so this is a goofy way to remember. So on number 3, we're going to graph y equals tangent of 2x. Now, because it's a positive tangent, it's a happy graph. The period of it, we take pi and divide it by the coefficient of x. So a very short period of pi over 2. And this one does not have a phase shift. Okay, so when there is no phase shift on a tangent graph, that means that the middle of the period is going to be the x-intercept always, but it's going to be at 0. And then to find the asymptotes, you're going to add and subtract the period, half a period, to each side of 0. And so the period was pi over 2, half a period is pi over 4, so that's going to be positive and negative pi over 4. All right, now I know that's a lot to keep straight, so let's see if we can just put it on a graph. Okay, so no phase shift, that means my middle point is at 0, which is where the y-intercept is. All right, and then half a period on each side is where my vertical asymptotes are. All right, and that's all I need to draw the tangent graph. So now I draw a happy graph that we start low and end up high. Okay, now we have to be able to graph the second period. And I kind of drew my thing a little wild. So I'm going to graph a period on the other side. So to get the second period, you're going to take that second asymptote at pi over 4 and add the period to it. So pi over 4 plus 2 pi over 4 is 3 pi over 4. All right, that's where my second period asymptote is. All right, and then I want to find halfway between those. So I can add them together and divide by 2 if I need to. If you don't know what it is, it's fine. So that gives you 4 pi over 4 or just pi. So it's going to be pi over 2. Right. That is my middle. And then I just draw my other period. All right, let's look at the next one. So this is a cotangent. It's a positive cotangent, so it's a sad graph. All right, when I go to do the period, it's pi divided by the coefficient of x, which is just going to be pi. This one does have a phase shift. It's going to shift pi over 4 to the left. All right, so I have that shift is going to affect my vertical asymptote. Okay, so instead of the vertical asymptote happening at 0, it's going to happen at negative pi over 4. All right, and then my other vertical asymptote, I'll take that negative pi over 4 and add the period to it. Right, and that's my vertical asymptote on the left. Okay, so I will draw my axes. Now, I'm going to just make this far left be negative pi over 4. I'm going to make the middle be 3 pi over 4. Those are my asymptotes. All right, then I need halfway between those. So if I add them together, I get negative 2 pi over 4, negative pi over 2. I'm going to take half of that. I get positive 2 pi over 4, positive pi over 2. I'm going to take half. That's pi over 4. All right, and then I can draw my sad graph. Oh, let me draw my y-axis. So the y-axis is going to fall in between pi over 4 and negative pi over 4. Okay. All right, so this is my middle, and then I'm going to draw a sad graph. Okay, and then to get my second period, I'm not giving myself enough room. I'm going to take my 3 pi over 4 and add my period to it. So 3 pi over 4 plus 4 pi over 4 is going to be 7 pi over 4. And then halfway between those is going to be 5 pi over 4. That's my middle. And then I draw my side graph. All right. And then the last one, we have a negative tangent. A negative tangent is a side graph. So my period is pi. My phase shift is pi to the right. All right. So what that means is the middle point is not going to be at 0. It's going to be at pi. All right. And then that means my vertical asymptote on the left is going to be pi minus half a period. It's going to be at pi over 2. And then my vertical asymptote on the right is going to be pi plus half a period is going to be 3 pi over 2. Now, since this one is shifted so far to the right, I am going to put my, because we're going to do, those are all going to represent vertical asymptotes. I'm going to do it this way. So pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, like that. Right, and then I would want my halfway, halfway between those. We already know is pi. Pi is where the midpoint is going to be. And then I'm going to draw a side graph. Sorry, that's super wobbly. Okay. And then my second period, I'm going to put on the left side. So I'm going to take pi over 2 and subtract the period from it. Right, and then I know halfway between those is the y-axis. Right, so here's my other vertical asymptote. There's my middle, and then I draw a side graph. Great, so your assignment is going to be lesson 4.6 worksheet.